Number 10. Giant Mekong Catfish. The deepest part of the ocean has all types of terrifying wildlife. You'll need to be careful not to become a tasty snack for some of them. Some of these animals are tiny, while others are so large you wouldn't even take the edge off their gigantic appetite if they caught you. Sometime in May 2005, fishermen in Thailand caught a giant fish along the Mekong River. It weighed 646 pounds, that's 300 kilograms, and was 9.8 feet long, that's 3 meters. The Guinness Book of Records reported it as the largest freshwater fish ever found. But the Mekong isn't just any fish. It's a catfish, and a giant one at that. Greyish-white, plain, and without stripes, the Mekong monster fish has a low eye set that makes it look pitiful. But beware of this creature. It's different from other catfish species because it's got no teeth or whiskers. The giant Mekong catfish feed on zooplankton, which are organisms that live in oceans, seas, and freshwater bodies. What's fascinating about this fish is its growth rate. The Mekong grows faster than all the fishes in the world. It can grow up to 440 pounds or 200 kilograms within 6 years. It also lives as long as 60 years. Isn't that incredible? Mekong catfish live in a vast expanse of river and are only able to survive in a particular climatic condition. Unfortunately, their numbers have dropped by 90% over the past decades. One primary reason for their decline is overfishing. Countries like Thailand have banned the harvest of Mekong so that it won't go extinct. Even at that, it's still illegally caught and sold in some restaurants. Don't eat the giant catfish. I personally would love a giant catfish as a pet if I had anywhere to keep one. What about you? Would you keep one of these big boys? You'd need a pretty big backyard with a giant pond. Let me know how you feel about the idea in the comments section below. And while you're doing that, remember to subscribe if you haven't already. Number 9. Frilled Shark. When you see this sea animal, the first question you have to ask is, does this fish still exist? The answer is yes. The frilled shark is known as the snakefish of the deep. They are on one hand fascinating and on the other terrifying. Frilled sharks have existed for millions of years, but they live far away from humans. First discovered between 1879 and 1881 in Japan by Ludwig Doderlein, a German scientist, they have been inspiring nightmares ever since. They live in the deepest, darkest parts of the ocean and look like a mutated type of sea dinosaur. They have long, smooth, slimy bodies, about 5 feet long, that's 1.5 meters. These sharks move very strangely and awkwardly in the water. Instead of swimming straight like other fishes, the frilled shark moves slowly and curls its body like a snake. Unlike other sharks, their mouths are at the end of their snouts. With more than 300 sharp teeth facing backwards, they can easily latch on, catch and kill prey. Number 8. Argentavis magnificens. Have you ever seen a bird as big as a Cessna aircraft? Over 4 million years ago, the skies above Argentina were flooded with scary birds known as Argentavis magnificens. The bird, also known as the giant teratorn or monster bird, is one of the largest birds ever found. They look like vultures, but bigger than any bird alive today. It's possible that a human could even ride on these creatures, if they'd let you on their back. The Argentavis magnificens are extinct predator species discovered in central and northwestern Argentina. They weighed 240 pounds, that's 70 kilograms, and had a wingspan of 22 feet, or 7 meters. The upper arm bone of this bird was slightly shorter than a human's arm. Argentavis had short but strong legs. Its enormous feet allowed it to walk easily. The bird flew by soaring with its wings, flapping at intervals and gliding for most of their flight. The skeletal structure of the breast muscle wasn't strong enough for extensive wing flapping. Thus, they must have used uneven sloping ground with small peaks and cliffs as a takeoff point. This is very similar to the biggest birds of prey that live today, such as the condor. None of them flap their wings too hard. They prefer to glide on their wide wings and use the wind as their assistant, rather than go crazy like hummingbirds or insects. This is another animal I'd love to have as a pet, if I could be sure it wouldn't try to eat me. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Number 7. Paraceratherium. Paraceratherium was a large herbivore with a long neck that looks like a hornless rhinoceros or an elephant without a trunk. It's also popularly known as Indricotherium and looks like a huge horse, but it's more than twice the size of even the largest modern-day horse. These animals inhabited locations like China, India, Kazakhstan, and Pakistan during a time period known as the Oligocene. That is between 34 and 23 million years ago, after the dinosaurs went extinct, but still many millions of years before humans came around. Though the exact size of this mammal isn't known, the shoulder height was about 16 feet, that's 5.5 meters. With a length of about 26 feet or 8 meters, it was one of the longest land animals that ever lived. Its massive weight made it easy to hunt down, though not many animals could take on a full-grown Paracerathium. An adult Paracerathium weighed about 33,000 to 44,000 pounds, which meant it could crush just about anything by sitting on it. It had a long neck that made it possible to feed on tall plants, with a skull that was about 4.3 feet long. It also had very long legs that looked like pillars. Standing beside it, you would almost feel like you were standing in a temple. Now this is a creature I would absolutely love to have as a pet, if I could find somewhere with big enough fences to keep it in. Number 6. Megatherium Americanum. Sloths today are not even 3 feet tall, but there once lived sloths that were the size of elephants. Megatherium Americanum was the most massive ground sloth ever, living from 5 million years ago to as recently as 12,000 years ago. That means that early humans did in fact encounter these savage beasts, and probably even hunted them for food. The name means a great beast of America. Megatherium looked like a modern elephant, with large claws and teeth. It weighed 4.4 tons. That's about 4,000 kilograms and almost 9,000 pounds. It measured up to 6 meters or 20 feet in length from head to tail. This giant mammal had a robust skeleton with a broad, muscular tail and large pelvic girdle. Because it was large, it could feed at heights other herbivores couldn't reach. Megatherium had enough strength to support its massive weight while pulling down branches with its forelegs. It could stand on its hind legs while feeding, while its tail helped it maintain balance. Megatherium lived in woodlands and grassland areas of South America. Although it walked in groups, the mammal lived alone in caves. In the south, they existed until around 10,500 BC. According to archaeological records, human hunters sadly pushed this mammal towards extinction. 12,000 years ago, Megatherium became extinct when the Quaternary extinction event took place at the end of the last major ice age. This event claims most of the large animals that existed in the New World, and set the stage for humanity to become the most dominant animal on the planet. Number 5. Mastodon. In 1739, a Dutch farmer discovered the first remnant of a large extinct animal in Claverack village, New York. This animal had a very heavy tooth and was named the Mastodon. Related to mammoths, mastodons were prehistoric animals that existed in North America over 10 million years ago and up to their extinction 11,000 years ago. They mostly lived in the forest. They were very similar in appearance to modern-day elephants. They had shorter legs and longer bodies combined with hefty muscles. The average body of a mastodon was around 10 to 13 feet or 3 to 4 meters in height from the shoulders. They weighed between 2 and 3 tons, that's 4,000 to 6,000 kilograms. The females were more similar to today's elephants than the males. They had long skulls with long curved tusks, while the male tusks were curvier and stronger. Mastodons socialized in groups. Adult females and the young bonded in groups known as mixed herds. Usually, the males left the females when they grew up to full maturity and lived alone or among male groups. Mastodons were browsing animals because they fed on leaves, soft shoots, or fruits of shrubs. Some theories say the heavyweight animals went into extinction due to climate change, while others claim it was due to humans hunting them down. At the end of the last ice age was an extreme shake-up for the species of the world, and many of the biggest animals we know about went extinct during this period. Number 4. Glyptodon. Can you remember how a tortoise looks? Now, think about a giant tortoise with an armoured tail and shell-like covering over its back. That's the Glyptodon. This armoured animal was roughly the same size and shape as a Volkswagen Beetle car. The Glyptodon lived during the Pleistocene epoch, between 2.5 million and 11,000 years ago. Related to the armadillos, it had a round shape and short limbs. The animal had tiny bones fixated on its underside, limbs and face. It also moved slowly like a tortoise. And, unsurprisingly, it too was a South American native species, with fossils of it being found in countries like Argentina and Brazil. The name Glyptodon means grooved or carved tooth. Shortly after the Ice Age, around 10,000 years ago, Glyptodons, like many megafauna of the time, went into extinction. Why? Most likely, it's because early humans could easily hunt them because they moved at a slow pace. Apart from the meat they provided, their large shells could have been used to shelter early South American settlers from the snow, rain and sun. Number 3. Mammoth. These prehistoric mammals were around 2.6 million years ago and lasted until 11,700 years ago. They usually had long, curved tusks. Some possessed a covering of long hair. Various species of mammoths lived in Africa, Europe, Asia and North America. Mammoths had a vast body. The largest species were around 13 feet or 4 meters in height from the shoulder and weighed anywhere from 8 to as much as 12 tons. Male and female mammoths possessed tusks which appeared at about 6 months after birth. Like human milk teeth growing into permanent teeth, the old tusks grew into permanent tusks at 18 months. The last species of mammoths that walked the face of the earth was the woolly mammoths. Most died during the megafauna mass extinction at the end of the Pleistocene. Although there has been no particular explanation for their total disappearance, records say they ceased to exist due to climate conditions that occurred before the mass extinction. But it's likely that human hunting played a role as well. Large, slow-moving animals like the woolly mammoth were basically perfect for a hungry tribe of cavemen in the cold winter months. A tiny subspecies survived on the remote Wrangel Island in the Arctic until as recently as 3,000 years ago. Then, it too died, leaving us with only fossils of these incredible creatures. What do you think of the wave of extinctions that took place around 12,000 years ago? Were they from early humans hunting? Was it a climate change effect? Would you like to see these species brought back like in Jurassic Park? Let me know what you think in the comments. Number 2. Giant golden-crowned flying fox. Giant creatures that we can still find in the world aren't only land or sea animals. Some are creatures of the air. The flying fox, also known as the golden-capped fruit bat, is a rare species of megabat indigenous to the Philippines. It has very long wings that can wrap around its body like a cloak. These wings measure about 5 feet wide or 1.5 meters if in full display and weigh about 2.5 pounds. That's about a kilogram. The golden brown flying fox isn't actually a fox, but it's considered the largest bat ever to exist. People call this animal a fox because its face and snout look like the sly creature. Unlike the round-shaped ears of most bats, this creature has pointed ears, earning them the name fox with wings. The flying fox isn't blind like most bats. It's got excellent eyesight that is 20 times better than that of humans. Flying foxes live in deep caves in remote rainforests, far away from humans. Usually, they move alongside river routes to find food easily. When on water, they scoop water with their wings and pour it all over their bodies. They don't mind travelling as far as 25 miles or 40 kilometers per night in search of food. But usually, they feed on fruits, figs and flowers. These bats are social creatures. They move in a colony to keep warm. Unfortunately, this social habit makes hunting them down very easy. Human hunters have tracked and killed quite a number of them. Flying foxes stand the chance of extinction since poachers in various locations always hunt them and humans continually destroy their forest habitation. This would terrify me if I saw one, but to be honest, it would probably be more scared of me. Number 1. Longhorn Beetle. What comes to mind when you think of a beetle? A small, insignificant insect? How about an insect that's as big as your hand? Some people get terrified at the sight of a simple cockroach. What then will happen when they get to see this giant beetle wiggling around their house? This Titan longhorn beetle can make your blood run cold. It lives in South America's wild Amazon rainforest, most notably Brazil, Colombia and Peru. Titan longhorns are prodigious beetles that are almost 7 inches or 16 centimeters long. They have sharp mandibles that can cut pencils in half. Though they're usually not aggressive, they defend themselves with their sharp spines and strong jaws. You can imagine what would happen if you got bitten by this beetle. So, you'd better not mess with this insect. Titan larvae feed on decaying wood below the Earth's surface. When they grow up, they don't eat anything and only spend a few weeks as adults. No wonder they emit pheromones and fly around in search of mates in adulthood. They want to reproduce quickly and bring children into the world before the end of their lives. Incidentally, Titan longhorn beetles are also attracted to electric lights. This is not great for their survival chances, but even worse is the danger they face from the periodic destruction of the forest habitat by timber companies. Like most of the biggest animals, the biggest danger for these creatures is us. Number 8. Sugar glider. With a name like this, you know for a fact they have to be absolutely beautiful. As a member of the kangaroo and koala bear family, the sugar glider is a small marsupial that comes from the rainforests of Australia and Indonesia. They have been bred as pets in the United States for the last 15 years and got their name from their love of eating sweet fruits and vegetables. They also have a gliding membrane that is similar to a flying squirrel that stretches from their wrist to their ankles and allows them to glide from tree to tree. With the lifespan that is similar to a dog or cat, sugar gliders can also learn their own names and do tricks. Although some people like to compare them to rodents such as mice, hamsters and gerbils, sugar gliders are not rodents and do not instinctively need to chew on things, making them a tidier pet. They are also known to strongly and permanently bond to their human families and can go almost anywhere with you in public without being in a cage. Some sugar glider owners have even been known to carry them around on their shoulders or in their pockets. When they are babies, they are called joeys, like kangaroos, and only measure about the size of a grain of rice when they're born. They spend the first few weeks of their lives in their mother's pouch and grow to be about 5 to 7 inches long, not including their tail. In the wild, they live in colonies of 10 to 15 other gliders, but when they bond to a family, they usually pick a favourite person as their primary bond. If you like pocket-sized pets that look unique, maybe a sugar glider is for you. Would you like to have your very own sugar glider as a pet? It seems like a way cooler and friendlier animal than a gerbil or guinea pig to me. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Number 7. Box turtles. If you don't think a box turtle can be cute, you're sorely mistaken. These guys are beautiful. Native to the United States and Mexico, there are 4 species of box turtles. They are recognisable from their domed shell, which they use for protection. These little armoured tanks can retract their arms, legs and head, then close their shell tightly to keep predators at bay. Common box turtles are the most well-known of the species and include various subspecies including the eastern box turtle, the Mexican box turtle and the Yucatan box turtle. The aquatic box turtle is the only known aquatic box turtle in North America and can be found in one small area in Coahuila, Mexico. Popular as pets, they need exposure to real or artificial light to stay healthy. Their main source of food is invertebrates, like insects and worms, but they'll also eat a lot of vegetable matter including leaves, fruits and berries. A relatively docile species, they are quite exotic looking, with some coming in brilliant colours and designs. Most are safe to pick up and do not bite humans. However, they do not like to be handled too much and can sometimes be a bit of a challenge to take care of. Still very much a wild animal, box turtles need a tank or enclosure that simulates their natural wild environment to keep them healthy. In the wild, most box turtles share a deep connection to where they were born and do not travel far from it. One of the problems that occurs is when people take box turtles from the wild, domesticate them as pets, then release them somewhere else. Sadly, because these box turtles often wander aimlessly trying to find their original home, they usually die. They also tend to have a short lifespan in captivity because of the strong connection to where they were born. If you do decide to adopt a box turtle as a pet, you should also be careful not to keep them in an enclosure where they can see out of the glass, because they do not understand the concept of it and will endlessly push against the invisible wall, which can cause them undue stress. However, by providing them with a proper habitat that is as close to their natural habitat as possible, box turtles can be a rewarding addition to your family. Number 6. Kinkajou. These cute little animals might be difficult to pronounce, but they are as adorable as their unique name. Found in the tropical forests of Central and South America, kinkajous have similar features to primates, but they are actually related to the raccoon. Sometimes called honey bears because they eat beehives, kinkajous use their long, skinny tongues to drink honey from beehives and remove insects like termites from their nests with ease. They also eat food and small mammals which they capture with their sharp claws, mostly roaming and eating at night and returning to holes in trees to sleep during the day. Known to form treetop groups for social interaction and reciprocal grooming, kinkajous are a vocal animal. Even though they are seldom seen, there is no mistaking their call, which includes screeching and barking from the tropical forest canopy. Although babies are born with their eyes shut and they cannot see for a month, by the second month of their life they are able to hang upside down from their tails. With a lifespan from 20 to 25 years, they weigh from 4 to 8 pounds and reach maturity at 18 to 20 months. Native to lowland rainforests of Central and South America, they can also be found from eastern and southern Mexico through Belize and as far south as Ecuador and southern Brazil. Directly related to the red panda, kinkajous have a small round head, small ears, sharp teeth, a long body and thick brown fur. They use their long tails to balance, and although they have a keen sense of touch and smell, they have poor vision. They also play an important role in the ecology of tropical rainforests by dispersing many different kinds of seeds and pollinating plants as they move through the treetops. Able to live from 20 to 25 years, their main predators include the fox, the jaguar, ocelots, and even humans, who hunt them for their meat and fur. Although many wildlife experts do not think it's a good idea to keep them as pets, many people do so, even though it requires a large cage for them to live comfortably. You would need to make significant changes to your house, or even build a giant greenhouse to be their playroom if you ever wanted to own one of these. But they are so cute, it might just be worth it. What do you think? Tell me in a comment below. And while you're there, remember to subscribe if you haven't already. Number 5. Crested Gecko. Crested geckos are a reptile found in a very lush, remote island chain east of Australia called New Caledonia. Named for the small projections on their heads and above their eyes, the species was thought to be extinct until they were rediscovered in 1994. They were so successful in captivity that they are one of the most widely kept geckos today. Ranging from brown and cream to blacks, oranges, reds and whites, some crested geckos have no pattern, while others have spots or stripes. The more they are bred in captivity, the more colours and pattern combinations you will find. Although you may consider getting multiple crested geckos and keeping them in a single tank or even terrarium, they can be extremely territorial and aggressive towards one another, with juveniles often fighting and seriously hurting their nearby rivals. An arboreal species, crested geckos like wood branches, vines, plants and other subtropical features in their tanks. And they aren't too picky about temperature either. They don't need special heating or lighting, but they do need to stay well hydrated so they can shed their skin. Growing to between 7 and 9 inches in length, including their tail, they have been known to lose their tail in the wild when they are threatened. Some also lose their tail in captivity, but if this happens to your pet, don't worry, they can still thrive without them. Isn't that fascinating? Number 4. Chinchilla. Why go for the typical gerbil or hamster when looking for a rodent as a pet when you can have a chinchilla? Prized for their luxuriously soft fur, unfortunately, chinchillas were nearly driven to extinction because of the demand. But if you want to give a helping hand to this small, furry creature, chinchillas end up making great pets. Related to guinea pigs and porcupines, they have short front legs and long muscular hind legs that resemble rabbits. With shorter round ears, they also have large black eyes and bushy tails. Covered in thick fur, they can live in elevations of 3,000 to 5,000 meters in the Andes at temperatures as low as 20 degrees Fahrenheit or -5 Celsius. A nocturnal animal, they sleep during the day by making their homes in underground tunnels or nesting in rock crevices. They sometimes even live in colonies of hundreds of chinchillas. An omnivore that eats both plants and meat, they eat mostly grass and seeds, but also sometimes insects and bird eggs. They hold their food in their front paws to nibble, which is probably one of the many reasons people find them so endearing. If you decide to have multiple chinchillas, you should keep them in separate cages and give them baths once or twice per week in fine volcanic ash. Unless you live near an active volcano, you'll probably have to buy that from the store. Smarter than rabbits, they make for a very hyperactive pet, so you might want to think twice before you adopt one of these furry rodents into your home. Or just make sure you're prepared for the rambunctious little creatures. In exchange, you can have the softest animal in the world running around your house. Do you think it's worth the trade? Let me know in the comments below. Number 3. Serval. With a long neck, very long legs and very large ears on a small skull, the serval is a unique breed of cat. With a pale yellow coat and black markings consisting of large spots, long stripes or smaller spots that give them a speckled look, the serval is a striking animal. Found in over 34 African nations, they mostly reside in national parks and reserves. They tend to congregate in long grass savannas with plenty of water and reed beds with other river vegetation. They have also sometimes been found in the dense forests along waterways. A nocturnal hunter, they usually rest during the day in abandoned aardvark burrows or under shady bushes. They are excellent climbers and have been known to retreat to the treetops when they are in danger. For the most part though, they are a solitary and territorial animal. Although they do have long legs, they don't use them for fast chases and instead use them to lift themselves up. They also use their long fingers to dig in burrows and mole tunnels, and will often sit nearby, listening to the animal's movements underground so they can capture them the moment they surface. Not much bigger than a medium-sized dog, servals retain their wild instincts even when domesticated. They are truly difficult to contain in a home or enclosure, and need to be able to learn how to hunt to survive. They are also known to leap into the air to catch flying birds or to slap fish hard enough to stun them. But sadly, servals are not easily house-trained and tend to have poor health when kept as a pet. Considered an exotic pet, most municipalities frown upon keeping them in captivity and instead encourage people to remember that the best way to see these types of animals is in the wild. They may be cute, but it might be best to view them from afar. Unless you have enough room for them to run around freely, that is. If you have enough land, you could probably let them roam and play as much as they want. You'll need some serious real estate for that though. Number 2. Pygmy Marmoset. Another potential pet that some may frown upon keeping in captivity is the Pygmy Marmoset. Small enough to fit around one's finger, they tend to measure 5 to 6 inches long, or 12 to 14 centimeters, and weigh a mere 3.5 ounces. That's 100 grams. Known to feed on tree sap using their sharp teeth to gnaw at the bark, these tiny Pygmy Marmoset can jump 16 feet in the air, an amazing feat for such a tiny critter. Females are known to usually give birth to twins, with the entire family nurturing them. Their small size has won them some cute nicknames, such as Pocket Monkey, Little Lion, and Dwarf Monkey. Of course, they are the smallest of all the monkeys, and one of the very smallest primates in the world. Communication is one of their strongest social aspects, and they use their voice to call, warn of danger, and encourage their young using clicking sounds and loud calls to talk. With no more than 12 members in any group of pygmy marmosets, they tend to enjoy bonding, spending their free time with one another, and are even known to show sadness when one of the members dies. Sometimes aggressive and known to fight to their own death if they have to defend themselves, the pygmy marmoset is a unique creature found in Colombia, Brazil, Ecuador, and parts of Bolivia. Living most of their lives in trees, they are rarely found on the ground, so if you decide to take one as a pet, you will have to provide them with nests in branches and foliage to make them feel at home. Unfortunately, it's illegal to keep them as pets in many areas, so unless you file for a permit as an exotic animal sanctuary or own a zoo, these thumb-sized monkeys may be pets you can only dream about having as your own. Number 1. Fennec Fox. The smallest fox in the world is the Fennec Fox, and is easily identified by its rather large ears. Measuring in at no more than 16 inches or 40 centimeters, the animals have a thick sandy-coloured coat that keeps them warm at night and reflects the sun during the day. Although humans are not a natural predator of the Fennec Fox, unfortunately sometimes malicious poachers trap these animals and sell them into the pet trade or hunt them for their fur. Another animal with a nocturnal nature, they live in deserts and semi-arid habitats in the Sahara and throughout northern Africa. Because of their cute appearance, the Fennec Fox is often illegally taken as a pet, which actually keeps them from being an endangered species. But just because there are no major threats to their populations, it doesn't mean that they aren't misused. In fact, many are in danger from being trapped, hunted, or sold commercially. For many of these exotic animals, the debate remains: is it better to take them into your home for the prestige of having a unique pet? You could try to be the best pet owner in the world, but it still wouldn't be natural. Would it be better to let them live their lives in the wild where they would have free rein to thrive? They would be in danger from predators, but they would still live their lives as nature intended. Let me know what you think in the comments. Number 8. Kangaroo Fight. A recent video captured two kangaroos duking it out animal to animal in the middle of an Australian suburb. We all know that Australia has some of the most outrageous wildlife in the world, and kangaroos are up there for the most iconic Australian animal, but you'd never expect to go outside of your front door and catch a literal boxing match between two of them. However, Rodney Langham uploaded a video of the situation to YouTube, so we all know it's true. Take a look! Who knows how they ended up there, but it seems like they've had a serious disagreement. It's not pretty. They're both using their fists and their legs to settle their issues. As it turns out, kangaroos do this pretty often whenever they find themselves in competition with one another. There's a long history of kangaroos seen as boxers. It's arguably one of Australia's national symbols. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, kangaroos occasionally used to box humans as a sideshow. Usually, kangaroos just box one another for territorial reasons, but it looks like this one got out of hand and flowed out into an area where you'd never expect to see it. Have you ever seen a kangaroo box before? Let me know in the comments below. Number 7. Okunoshima, Bunny Island. On the tiny Japanese island of Okunoshima, there are a ton of feral bunnies that have long since taken over. While this is certainly adorable, the island itself has a history fraught with gloom. In 1925, a bunch of countries including Japan signed the Geneva Protocol. One aspect of this protocol banned using chemical weapons in war, even though countries could still make it. And the Bunny Island is where Japan decided to keep making their chemical weapons. Even though it was technically legal, they kept their development of mustard gas very secret, even though they created somewhere around 6 kilotons of this dangerous material. The island was often not listed on maps to keep this a secret. Even the local population didn't know what the new plant was making. But then after World War II, the Japanese decided that it was time to get rid of all these nasty chemicals. Sadly, there were many victims of chemical poisoning from the plant, and it took many years for their stories to be heard. However, after the plant closed, government officials freed many rabbits onto the island in the hopes of converting it into a park. Who knows if these were the test bunnies that were at the poison plant? Let's hope not. Since they were released, the rabbits have moved forward like they tend to, by multiplying. If you're interested in the history of the island, you can visit the Poison Gas Museum, but many tourists just go to the island to experience the cuddliness of all the bunnies there. Number 6. Cape Town Baboons. In Cape Town, South Africa, it could be argued that the baboons have started to take over. That's right, due to Cape Town's expansion into the baboons' former territory, these animals have decided that they'd just move right into the city as it takes over their space. That means that there's a solid population of around 500 baboons inside of Cape Town that can cause a lot of trouble for the city's residents. The city even publishes a helpful list of tips and tricks for dealing with the baboons if you're a tourist. Naturally, these baboons would want to move into the city's living areas because there's a lot of discarded food inside of trash cans, as well as an abundance of fruit-bearing trees. They don't have many predators to deal with, so they've taken to rummaging through trash cans and breaking into businesses looking for snacks. Many know when the garbage trucks run and are ready to take what they can from the dump at a moment's notice. These burgling baboons are no joke, there's some serious looting going on. Due to all of these factors, the government has started to reconsider its protection of the animals, but it's not entirely clear what should be done. They've thought about whether or not to put down the repeat felons. Cape Town's population has taken to a different method: paintballs and pepper spray. But clearly, this isn't going to be enough to stop the most determined of the baboons. Could you imagine trying to fight off attacking baboons with a paintball gun? That's just ridiculous, but it's real. Has a baboon ever tried to steal your garbage or food? What about bears or raccoons? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Number 5. Český Krumlov Castle. Deep inside of the Czech Republic, there is a castle with a very unconventional security system. In the moat around the large structure, a group of brown bears hang out and make their home. The castle is called Český Krumlov Castle, and it's one of the oldest and biggest castles in the whole country. It's been around since the year 1240, when it was built by a branch of the influential Rosenberg family, after which it was passed down through the generations into the 16th century. That's when the bears entered the picture. After living there for many years, they started inhabiting the surrounding moat in about 1707. They're a fitting symbol for the castle, and different bears have come and gone as the years have passed. Right now, 4 bears have set up a place in the moat of the Český Krumlov Castle. They even have a comfortable living space, featuring such niceties as toys and relaxation areas. On Christmas Eve, the bears enjoy a celebration festival, and during this period, tourists are allowed to come inside the bears' space. Visitors tend to bring a lot of tasty treats for all the bears to munch on, and the local wildlife expert makes sure that it's all okay for the bears to eat. Then, when their buffet has been assembled, the bears are allowed to feast. However, sometimes that doesn't quite work, and unfortunately, some American tourists got mauled on one occasion. So be careful if you visit this castle and keep your distance. Number 4. Koalas on deck. We all know that koalas can't fly, unless we give them a helping hand. When Singapore was celebrating its 50th anniversary of being an independent state, Australia decided to present them with a gift: 4 koalas, who went to live in the Singapore Zoo. They flew with the Qantas airline, which opted to give them a truly first-class treatment for a moment, giving them luxurious hot towels, as well as a hearty helping of eucalyptus. You can see photos of their flight for yourself. However, as it turns out, they only got their first-class treatment for a short amount of time. It's a pretty long flight from Australia to Singapore, and they spent most of it inside of crates. The photos are from a photo shoot. However, this is probably better for the koalas and the flight attendants in the long run, since they are wild animals. No one wanted any unexpected messes occurring on their way to their new home. The 4 koalas, named Idalia, Pelita, Paddle and Shan, served as Australia's cultural ambassadors for a few months before moving to the zoo. Qantas even committed to sending these koalas a fresh helping of eucalyptus twice a week. Australia definitely knows how to represent itself around the world. Number 3. Coyote on a rooftop bar. A few years ago, a few folks spotted what appeared to be a coyote on the top of a New York City rooftop bar. People weren't sure what to do. At first they thought it was a dog, but a veterinarian ascended to the rooftop to sneak a peek and left just as quickly. And if you look at the photos, it looks more like a coyote than a dog. For a few short hours, this coyote was flying high directly in the middle of the neighborhood. Naturally, people were concerned about the coyote's presence on the roof, so the NYPD's Emergency Services unit was called in to capture it. However, this coyote was pretty nimble. When they tried to snatch it, this coyote ran from the rooftop directly into an old factory through one of its windows. You can actually see a video of it for yourself. Take a look! The bar's owner suspects that this animal had been living in that factory for quite some time, and perhaps it's still there today. This isn't the first time that coyotes have been spotted in New York City. In fact, 2 more were recently captured and released back into designated Bronx wilderness areas in the same year. Have you ever encountered a wild animal in an office or home before? Tell me about it in the comments section below. Number 2. Pig Beach. We've all dreamt about swimming with dolphins, but have you ever considered that it might be more fun to swim with pigs? It might sound ridiculous, but on the small island of Big Major Cay in the Bahamas, you can make this dream a reality. If you ever visit Big Major Cay, you'll find that this island belongs to a group of feral pigs. Though some folks claim to have seen a couple of cats and goats on the island other than the pigs, it's basically uninhabited by anything or anyone else. You can go and see the aptly named Pig Beach if you're ever staying at the Fowl Cay Resort in the area. From there, you can rent boats and travel to Big Major Cay Island for yourself. The pigs live off the natural food sources from the island, but also on the goodwill of those visitors who come to feed them regularly. When the pigs hear the boats approaching, they prepare themselves by swimming out to meet you there, so you can get out and swim with the pigs. Not only that, but if you start approaching the shoreline, the pigs are probably going to jump onto your boat looking for a snack. It's a remarkable place, but no one is quite sure how the pigs arrived there. Some say that sailors left them there to come back and eat later, and then never made it back. Others say that they are the lone survivors of a shipwreck. Although we'll probably never know how these pigs got there, I think it would be a lot of fun to go swimming with them. After all, that's not something you see every day. Number 1. Sea lion in high school. In April 2015, onlookers outside of an Imperial Beach, San Diego high school must have been stunned to see a sea lion pup being taken away in a police car. It's fun to imagine what the sea lion must have done to end up in this situation. Did he want to go back to school? Was he trying to locate an old friend? The possibilities are endless. Whatever he was up to, he might have gotten away with it too, if it weren't for those police officers apprehending him. I went looking for more information because this story sounds crazy. So what happened? Well, Mar Vista High School is only 5 blocks away from the Imperial Beach shoreline. So what must have happened is that this pup came onto the shore and flopped itself a solid 5 blocks to this high school. Naturally, the staff at Mar Vista were a little bit confused, so they thought that they should get the police involved. After they detained the determined pup, animal control officers arrived and cared for the animal. While it's a funny story, there is a real problem at hand. Sea lions washing ashore has become a serious problem in the past few decades, and no one is quite sure how to stop it. Because waters are getting warmer, mothers are leaving their pups alone while they swim deeper into the water to find them food. These pups are sometimes forced to come ashore because it's the only place they have the energy to go. Soon, places like San Diego are going to need animal control to take in orphaned sea lions more and more often, which could develop into a real problem for the wild population. Thanks again for watching. What's the weirdest place you can imagine finding a wild animal? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more great content. See you next time!